Education, Languages, Literature, and Art 2021, held by the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Lambu Mangkurat. And today's plenary theme is relationship between language heritage and ethnic identity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nasrullah. I'm affiliated in Universitas Lambu Mangkurat, and I will be your moderator for these plenary sessions. This session takes an hour and is divided into two sessions. The first one is presentations by speakers for 45 minutes, and the second one is question and answer session for the 15 minutes. Already joining us today, Park Yoanna. Hello, Miss Yoanna. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, nice. Is it great? I mean, is it audible there?
Pardon me?
Is it your voices can be heard easily here? Anyway, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, yeah.
Nice. Before we start, I would like to introduce our invited speaker today. Their name is Park Yoanna, and he's from South Korea. Her institution is B Plus Publishing, and the position is a director. And the field that he is interested for is English literature. So research interest is literature and philosophy. He is graduate from MA from Sungkyun Kwan University, March 2000 to March 2002. I graduate from English and Literature from UNESA by 2018, and is now doctoral student, majoring English Language and Literature from UNESA from 2019 up to present. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's hear Park Yoanna to deliver presentation. Yoanna, the time is yours.
Okay, so do I start the slide share?
Yeah.
Okay.
You may share the slide.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Park Yoanna, and I'm speaking from Seoul, Korea, and it is 11 o'clock in the morning here. And the topic I'm going to talk today is heritage language and ethnic identity. And before I start, I express my deep gratitude for inviting me to this very precious opportunity to share my thought with all of you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the language and identity, not from the linguistic point of view, but from the literature point of view. And I'm interested in this topic because these days, a growing number of foreign families are coming in and settling in Korean society. And their primary concern is language, the language education for their children, especially when their children are young and they haven't started their education yet. So what is language? From the philosophical point of view, language is a vehicle that links us to our ancestors. So even the smallest nations cherish the great deeds of their forefathers in and through their languages. And language is the collective treasure of group feeling. So it's very important to maintain our own language. But in some cases, this language is lost or diminished into a minority language. In a multicultural society like in America, there are many immigrants. Minority groups are encouraged to communicate in English for smooth assimilation to the American society. So the parents urge their children to study English hard. At the same time, the parents expect their children to carry on their heritage language or heritage culture. So they have two tasks. One is to learn the main language. The other is to maintain their heritage language. So the question I raise is, what is the relationship between heritage language and ethnic identity? And to find this answer, I will refer to a novel written by Mr. Chang Le Lee The title is Native Speaker. Changle Lee himself is a second-generation American, and this novel deals with the loss of one's ethnic identity, conflict between two languages, the recovery of one's heritage language, and the formation of a new ethnic identity. So I purposely chose the novel as a reference because I agree with Wellett's point of view that novels portray real life and behavior of the time in which they are written. In a previous session, we have learned that literary works are useful resources in language learning, and also there are many benefits of using literary works in the classroom. So today I approach the literary works from a very different point of view. Okay. So let's see what is heritage language and how it's different from our mother tongue or mother language. Heritage language is a language spoken by immigrants and mostly by children. They learn this language from their parents. Or you can say that heritage language refers to migrant, refugee, and indigenous languages, as well as former colonial language. Since they learn this language when they are young, so at some point, at a certain point of their age, when they start their formal language in a new country, the language shift will follow. It will happen. Language shift refers to this phenomenon that students use on and the favor of home languages are replaced by a dominant language. This shift often involves the loss of HL, the heritage language. So when they start their education and they are more exposed to the English, the dominant language, so gradually they have less chance of speaking their HL at home, also in school, outside. So why does language shift takes place? Because there is a power difference among cultural and linguistic groups, resulting in one group dominating the others in many domains, including language. So HL attrition begins as soon as they enter kindergarten. Okay, so they're exposed to English, and then most of the time they speak in English rather than their home languages. So that they lose the balance between the two languages. So there is an imbalance between the two languages. It's important for minority language speakers to maintain the balance between the use of dominant language and minority language. So some children are bilinguals, but even though their bilingualism is generally biased in favor of the dominant language, so gradually they gravitate to the main language. So among family members or among siblings, they start speaking only in English. Generally, not everybody, generally. This is a general trend. Okay. So between parents and the child, in case the parents doesn't speak English well, or they don't have any chance of learning the English, then there is a language barrier exists between them. So parents' lack of English proficiency hinders the ideal parent-to-child relationship, and they lose the family communication. And lack of HL proficiency and consequent language barriers contribute to children's frustration when they are unable to communicate effectively with their family members, heritage peers, and heritage communities. When family relationships weaken, parental influences fade, and social ties loosen, the older generation is hampered in its effort to transmit ethnic values. So Fillmore records a case of language loss in an immigrant family. The children of one Chinese family are losing their HL when they begin schooling in the States. The male adult members, like uncle or fathers, pick up a little English while working, while the female members do not speak English at all. Obviously, there are communication problems leading to the deterioration of family relations. the elder members of the family do not feel and know what is happening in the children's lives. So it's an important issue to how to maintain the HL, but the maintenance of HL is not easy for second-generation immigrants because there is an assumption that the maintenance of their heritage culture will impede their assimilation into mainstream society. So the parents want their children to assimilate to the American society instead of staying longer within their own heritage domain. So we come to ethnic identity. Ethnic identity refers to one's sense of belonging to a certain ethnic group and particular feelings that accompany this sense of group membership. And in this ethnic identity, language can become the most important symbol of ethnic identity, according to Finney and Fishman and al. So what's the relationship between these two? Bilingual users believe that their HL ability is key to their identity, according to the survey. And also there is another survey. It says that HL development can be an important part of and contributor to ethnic identity formation and maintenance. So ethnic ambivalence, actually this is the key word of this presentation. According to Che, the ethnic minority groups will experience the stage of ethnic ambivalence when they are detached from their ethnic identity. And this stage will be followed by one's search for the meaning of ethnic identity. So the minority groups usually go through the ambivalence stage and they end up with the formation of a new identity at the end. So during this stage, they are not interested in the ethnic culture, and also they deny their ethnic heritage. So they want to be a perfect or a true American citizen. Individuals opt to identify themselves with dominant groups, the desire to be accepted by the dominant group, and the failure to meet the criteria for group membership leads to the feelings of alienation. So they don't belong neither group. They are not fully Americans yet, but they still are not, that doesn't belong to their heritage groups because they are in between. So this is the general steps they go through. The first step is the loss of or indifference to one's ethnic identity. And the second step is the recovery of one's heritage language. They try to recover their language and they try to learn and they start going to the language class. And finally, the formation of a solid identity. In addressing this HL and identity issue, society plays an important role. They can provide real assistance of psychological assistance to these immigrant children. The attitude of mainstream groups toward the minority languages determines the prosperity and decline of the heritage language. So now we come to the novel, and first I will introduce Mr. Changle Lee. He is a Korean-American writer, second generation, and he was educated in the States. And his novel usually deals with the experiences of diaspora, the aspirations of immigrants who wants to assimilate into the American society, and the formation of identity. And he received Ken Hemingway Award for this novel. And this novel is quite special because this novel brings the interior determinant language into the ethnicity discourse. When we talk about ethnic identity, we usually talk about the external factors, such as how does it look like, or what kind of customs or what kind of traditions they practice, what kind of religion they have. But in this novel, it's mainly focused on the language issue and brings it into the ethnicity discourse. So in this sense, I purposely chose this novel. Seems quite suitable for this topic. And simply, I go through the plot of this novel. The protagonist, Henry, is a 30-something Korean man, an Asian American, suffering from an identity crisis. He feels isolated from the country in which he lives, America, and the country from which he came, the Korea. Without solid identity, he finds it difficult to communicate with society, parents, his wife, and his son. According to Che, this is the typical state of ethnic ambivalence. So, according to Pao and Wang and the two-man role, in children's life, parents plays an important role. If parents have a very healthy relationship with both cultures, and children will have a positive attitude towards both cultures. So if parents are very healthy in terms of their relationship in the American society, then children will have a better relationship with his peers or in school or in the society. But in Henry's family, his father is not the case. Because his father runs a good business, he has a big shop, big store, but his father wants Henry to live as a true American, so he doesn't teach Henry Korean language. And he's very proud of seeing Henry speak fluent English. He didn't give Henry a chance to appreciate his HL or his heritage culture. His father even welcomes Henry's marriage to Lelia, American lady, because this American wife can bring Henry into a true American society. But Henry is very disappointed at his father's attitude in white neighborhood because his father is always timid, always daunted in front of the white people, and then he doesn't voice out any of his opinion. He lives very quiet. So it's a disappointment for him, and he doesn't want to live like his father. So he disconnects his relation to his father. I mean, the relation in terms of ethnic identity and language. So he doesn't want to say that he's from Korea, and he doesn't want to speak Korean language. So in order to be a true native speaker in American society. And his job is a corporate spy. This is his job and quite suitable for him because he can live under the fake name and under the fake identity. So he says that I know he is himself. He never felt fully, his father never fully felt fully comfortable in his fine house in Ashley. So his father was always very worried what the neighbors might think of them.